record. Okay, so I think recording also started. So after COVID-19, there is uh, uh, so many changes happening across the globe in their way of business they were doing earlier. So there are lots of things now been changed to online and virtually how they would able to manage. Now, in terms of IT, how the 9 data security trends that we would expect in 2021. So there would be more remote work. Is that I mean, you will see people are working from home, people are working from anywhere. So there would be a remote work is the top concern for the IT security because the risk surface is now huge. So data breaches are also 4 times common now, even though when people were working in the controlled environment within the organization environment, still there was a data breaches. Now it's remote work, or they're working from home, and so there is a more risk, like it's a 4 times more risk of data breaches. Then only data classification is not sufficient. There are a lot other few things has to be considered. Then phishing schemes, phishing is something now very common, and everybody is victim of phishing. Now the third, employees hit by account takeover, then improved authentication methods. Ransomware affected 28% of business. I hope everyone is aware of ransomware, where your critical data is encrypted and then asked money to get decrypted. So ransom is requested. Then virtual reality and artificial intelligence and other things. Then 86% of organization are more concerned about data privacy. So the last point and the first point is something which is very relevant and which is very important. Remote work is a top concern, and 86% of the organizations are more concerned about data privacy or data protection. So these are few recent data breaches. January 11, 2021, biggest internet thing of IoT vendor, Ubiquit. They had, the data is breached. There would be different reasons: hacking, vulnerability, exploitation, and the insider data breach as well. All right. Now this is January 11. The other organization, Chinese social media management company, where PI data is being breached. Then February 10, there is a malware attack, and in Singapore, it's a file sharing system of largest telecom here. It's a Singtel. Their vulnerable server been hacked and customer data has been compromised. And there's a patient data of Singapore Ministry of Health has been revealed in last January, and the confidential information belonging to 14,200 people diagnosed with HIV. So there would be many data breaches are happening, but out of all data breaches, the information such as health information, which is highly sensitive information, then your financial data, your credit card number, passwords, and so on. So some sensitive information which is highly critical, highly sensitive, and which will uh, impact very bad in terms of your reputations and your financial situations. Now these are things like few data breaches, how the data breaches being happen. So there are three factors: either it's a malicious user, either it's accidental, or it is a negligent. So these are the three reason how the data is being breached. And malicious user ideally does for the motive of harm, or to get some benefit out of it. And accidental or negligent has no motive, but it is due to the lack of awareness how to handle the sensitive data. That awareness is still people are able to learn, and all the time how they will uh, follow that. So these are like some trained some surveys where types of record that has been compromised. Okay. So customer PI data is the highest type of data. It is 80% of data are the customer PI data. personal identified information, your name, your phone number, credit card, or whatever the information which can identify the individual. Okay, then intellectual property, certain designs, and certain research and so on. So these are the type of data that is being breached. But customer PII data, like a social security number, Aadhaar number, and so on, these kind of data are the highly targeted information, because those data is used for different purpose, to target for business, to target certain phishing attacks and so on. Average cost per record by type of data. Now this is the amount, like customer PI data, average cost per record. For one record, it's a $150. For other corporate data, it's 149. Intellectual property, 149. So for each record, around $150 is something, the in terms of value, it compromised. When any record get compromised or data breach, each record has around this $150 value. So understand, if there is 10,000 records being compromised, breach, then what will be the implications, what are the consequences, how the organization loses money as well as data. Now average total cost of data breach by country or region. So United States, they lose more than Middle East, Canada. So these are the country wise trend. So how the data breach happen? Like it's a 71% is inadvertently data breach, like careless users. 65% is a negligent data breach, and 60% is a malicious data breach. Fraud, monetary gain, and IP theft. The motive, what is the motive? So 55% is a fraud, like it's a malicious reason. Then again 50% is to earn money, and 44% is IP theft. IT assets that are most susceptible to insider threats. So what are the IT assets that is being targeted to breach the data? So database is 56%. So highly targeted IT assets are your database, then file servers, endpoints, and mobile devices, and network, and so on. So if you see the top two, it's a database and file server, which are always, because these two assets which hold ideally, all kind of sensitive data, and all data ideally we keep in the database or in on a file server, right? So these are the top targeted assets. So either it's a database or file server, somehow, either due to vulnerability or some insider user, malicious user may have access and visibility of sensitive data, may misuse it. So these are the IT assets that is being more susceptible to insider threat. Now I want you to ask a few questions before we start about DLP. So I wanted to understand and know how far you aware of DLP. So can anybody answer what is DLP or a data loss prevention? Do you have any basic understanding so far, whatever you have heard and read about it? Can anybody answer about DLP?
Hi, Kishore.
Yeah, hi. Who is this?
Yeah, DLP stands for data loss prevention. So, which is monitor or prevent outgoing traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say, in other words, DLP is a combination of the people, process, and technology elements.
Mm-hmm.
So that contribute to wider security, data security program and assist with compliance like GDPR, PCI DSS, and CCPA. So I'm audible for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So most important is insider threat. So if organization, ABC organization are the more than 100 employee or the 150 employee, if someone is targeting to send at regular interval the confidential information to outside the network, so it's a uh, business impact or business continuity and brand reputation. It's a damage on for organization. So that's why we require for the DLP, and we can protect and we can monitor based on the rules and policy to our organization. So whatever the confidential and the PI information and intellectual property.
That's right. Anybody else? Anybody else has anything more to add in? Kavita?
Yeah, Kishore. Mm, no, whatever he said, I have the same idea as well.
Okay. Yeah, so that's right. So DLP is in a full form we speak. Okay. In DLP in full form we call as a data loss prevention. Sometime it is also called as a data leak prevention, right? So it has a multiple names, but this is primarily we called as a DLP or data loss prevention, which is widely term used in the industry. Now, in terms of DLP, what it does, so DLP is known for, in a way, data leak prevention, how the data can be prevented from leak. And once it is leaked, it is become a loss, a data loss, right? So to prevent the data leak from insider users, the employee who are working within the organization. So the scope of DLP is more of the internal users, the insiders, the employees who ideally handles different type of data, which includes the sensitive information. So so how the DLP prevention will able to help? So DLP is a includes your people, process, and technology. So technology wise, we have a technical solutions of DLP. Then there would be process, how to handle the sensitive data, and the people who are responsible and accountable to protect the data. So it's a combined responsibility. Now, anybody has heard any recent or past data breaches which has been done by insider? Any data breach which has done by insider? Anybody has any example? Have you heard about it?
India Bull Finance
Right.
last year.
Okay, right. So this is one the example, India Bulls Financial, where insider user has breached the data. So you will find such examples in many organizations. Some are been exposed in the media or outside. Some has been not exposed due to their reputation and the other implications. So this is how the things happen. Now, uh, in your view, insider threats is a more risky, or the outsiders threats like hackers, attackers, who are the more risky?
Insider.
Insider. Anybody has any other point of view? Sohail, you have any other view on this?
So yeah, in that insider trade is more risky as compared to outsider trade because they know. So most of the password, and so what is the segment of the IP addresses, and they know that so which server is production or which server is DR, and which server is kept in the DMZ, demilitarized zone. So
Yes.
they know each and everything. So agar they can leak the data, they can send to the outsider to just try to attack. So with the help of the brute force attack, someone is trying to attack list of the possibilities of password, or they know that so what is the host name or server name. So according, they can easily enter to our organization. So that is the reason. So insider threat is more risky.
Right. So in a simple terms, if if somebody is living within your home, right? If let's say you're living in a sharing room, so there are 3 rooms and you all are staying inside. So ideally, the people who are working inside, they have much more visibility of how the things are inside, where is the important things are kept. So for outside, it's been difficult for him to first get in your home inside and then search for the critical things. So it is always very easy for the insiders uh, to access and to get the idea of where are the sensitive things. So that's the reason the people who are working inside have a so much access on the resources within the organization, and so that they have a good idea where are the sensitive information. So if somebody who has a malicious intention, he may attempt, he may try to leak certain data due to any reason. So for insiders it is always easy, and for outsider it is little challenging, but the risk is always more or less uh, same, but it depends. But it is always easy for insider threats. Now, do you have anybody any suggestions, any idea for I mean how can we prevent insider data breaches? Do you have any idea, like what are the options? One is we can implement the DLP solution. We will have a DLP solution, that is one option, right? Other than that, what are other options that you think would help to prevent the data breach?
Outside mostly
Is it Tarun? Tarun, your voice is cracking. So can anybody share their views? How can the data breaches can be prevented from insiders? Other than DLP solution, what other options, or
mostly
what
outsider
additional
is depend on
things?
inside. Perfect. Like
Yeah.
So so first we have to understand. So first you have to discover the data. So what you are trying to protect. So from our organization to outside the network. So first we have to understand, and second thing also we have to also understand the data flow analysis. So based on the department wise, so we have like the IT department, HR department, information security department, information risk management. So until or unless so will not understand the data flow analysis and data discovery, so we cannot create policy, we cannot create rule in DLP. So without rule or policies, we can't protect the data.
So
So from our organization to outside the organization. And
yeah,
with the
so that is part of DLP solution. Like when you implement the DLP solution, you have to do the data flow analysis and identify the flow, and then you have to define the policy accordingly, the information which are sensitive. So that is a part of the DLP solution. So other than DLP solution and all these, what other controls or what other options that would additionally help to prevent data breaches?
There is
digital
a
rights
hi Jadip here.
management we can use. Okay, Jadip, we can.
Yes, Jadip.
Email security appliances or web security appliances, I think is the part of the data means we can prevent, because someone is sending files or via email, means it's also a data leak. So we can use a email and web security appliances.
Okay. So basically in DLP solution, there is already email and web security DLP. So they prevent data breaches through web and email. But yes, additionally, the devices of like email and web, we can have a email level policies like certain users who don't need to send any email outside. So they are not supposed to be in the group where they are allowed to send email outside. So they should allow only email within the organization. So this way, you can have certain policies on your email and web solutions where you can restricted access to the users, uh, which will reduce the risk, right? Which will reduce the risk. And additionally, you have already DLP for email and web. So this is the one thing. Any other views, any other suggestions other than we have a DLP solution, and what other controls and process and things that we can implement to in order to prevent the data breach?
So in order to prevent the data breaches, we can use digital rights management. So
Okay.
lots of technology,
Very
and
good.
so companies, they are providing the services.
Very
So one
good.
of example, we can take Seclor and Varonis.
Yeah, yeah.
So these are the company.
Right. Right. Any other suggestions, guys? Nirmal, Vikram, Akash, Harshad, Tarun, any other suggestion from your side?
Hello,
Strong
Kishore
policy,
ma'am.
strong
Yeah.
policy towards access management.
That's good. That's great. Great. It's a great option.
Can antivirus be implemented in that case, like for blocking the USB, so that the users don't get proper
Ab-
rights for
Absolutely.
copying the data?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at endpoint protection, the antivirus has a certain,
Yeah.
policies where you can restrict the users to copy anything on your mobile media. So it will, it will reduce the risk surface. It's reduce the risk surface, so there will be less risk because user has very limited access to limited scope to copy anything. And
Right. Yeah.
even though if you will copy, your DLP will always be there. So these are some access controls and the endpoint level policies, okay, device level policies. So you can reduce the risk surface so that whatever is required as per role based access, he will have access. And after that, if he will attempt to copy something, then your DLP will also take care. So it's a complementary effort of other devices as well. Though DLP is capable of monitoring and preventing data breach on endpoint, email and web, but additionally these policies will reduce the risk surface and also effort and processing on DLP. Otherwise DLP has to process everything, and which will also degrade the performance of the machine. Now moving to next part. So these are the recent DLP incidents. 97% IT leaders worried about insider data breaches. So most of the IT leaders, they have always concern and some kind of suspect there should not be any data breach from inside. Outside we were already tackling with SOC and other security solution. Now these are some survey. IT leaders and employees. Can you mute, guys? I think. Okay. So these are some data breach survey. Here it's a IT leaders and this is employees. Now 70%, 71% of employees say they have a colleague or colleague haven't accidentally shared the company information. So 71% they have accidentally shared sensitive information. 68% intentionally. 45% is like employees said they had received an Outlook recall message or it is by mistake. So this is some survey. So overall, there is a high percentage where accidentally or intentionally things happen wrong. And what are the consequences of data breaches? This is very important slide. So why your sensitive data is breached? Why it is so much noise? Why it is very concern about for the business and the top leaders? So there is a financial loss if your data is being breached. There is a financial loss as well. How it will, like, you will have a reputation loss, right? You have a regulatory penalties, and your share price may go down. That there will be less trust, and then disclosure of your top secrets, and then compromise of customer data. Customer will lose, trust on the business, so they will not continue to have a business with the same organization, and loss of customer trust. So there are lots of laws, right, as a consequences of data breach. And the important point is, it's not just consequences. These are the things which we cannot revert. Like once you lose the reputation or the trust, it is if you lose the money, it is still possible to gain the money back after having a good business. But if you lose the reputation and trust of the customer, it is very difficult, for any organization to grow. So that is most important part here. And then again, the regulatory requirements and penalties, it's again a financial loss. So the consequences of data breach are very high, right? And that too, if it is a PI data or some health information, then it's a personal reputation of the person is on stake. So it has a very high impact, personally and in society. Now, in a digital era, data is a money, hence data protection is imperative. So if you see, there is a huge amount of data is being uh, you know uh, created and processed and sent, but out of all data, just
Hello?
Kishore, you are,
oh, sorry,
I
sorry,
think
sorry,
so.
sorry. Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks for informing. Otherwise, I would have continued. Okay, thanks for interrupting. So, so I was talking about the data is a money. So now in a digital era, everything, digital all, and after COVID-19, there are lots of things going to be digital and online. So there will be huge amount of data will be, created and processed. And in data, it is, most of the data is like personal data, because if you need any service, you have to be identified. So to identify you, your certain personal data is being, they will collect, and they will store for future references. So now if you have data, you can generate money out of data, and if it is breach, it is a loss of money. So money is lost, it can be earned back, but once data is lost, it's a loss of data, it's loss of money, it's loss of reputation, and the other regulatory penalties. So data is now, it's a very valuable thing nowadays. Now we talk about the data loss prevention solution. So data loss prevention solution is a solution that monitors your sensitive data. So in organization, they have a huge amount of data, right? From logs, from customer data, and then different documents, this and that. So there would be so much data, daily created, processed, deleted. But out of all data, there are certain classified data which are sensitive data, which are critical data. And how would you uh, classify or understand whether it's sensitive data or not? So simple point is, if that data is being leaked outside, then what is the implications? What is the impact? What is the consequences? What is the loss? So based on that, you will able to assess whether that data is critical, whether is data is sensitive or not, right? So DLP solution, the scope of DLP solution is to monitor and protect the sensitive information, sensitive data, which is moving across the organization, and accidentally or intentionally or maliciously, it would be attempted to send out, right? So data you would find in the three phase. Either it would be in a data at rest, data in use, or data in motion. Now, what is that? Data in rest in motion. We will explain in next slide. Now, DLP is a product that is based on a central policies, identify, monitor, and protect. And DLP is a business driven to identify sensitive information. So there is a most of organization, they more emphasize on IT security and DLP. And there is a least contribution from the business, but it is basically a business driven, because it is all about the business data. It's a sensitive data. So DLP has to closely work with the business to drive the and identify the sensitive information inside the organization, right? So DLP has a name like data loss prevention, data leak prevention, information loss prevention, content monitoring protection, information protection. These are names, but the widely used names are either a data loss prevention or data leak prevention. These are the widely used name, which gives a clear-cut understanding of DLP. Now DLP is to protect content throughout its life cycle. So how the life cycle is? When data is first time created, stored, protected, shared, and deleted. So within that life cycle, data you will see either in these three phases. Now, first phase is a data in use. So when user or employee, he is working on certain, customer data, certain customer information, or certain files. It may be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or he's, having some reports from the database. So when certain information which is on the endpoints on the user machine, it is data in use. Okay. Once that data he sent in the network, for example, he's sending certain email to a Y recipient, and he attached some customer data. Okay. So when that data is sent from your endpoint machine and it is reaching to the recipient, so before sending, after sending and before reaching to the recipient, it is in the network, it is in the pipe, right? So that is called as the data in motion. So your email and web are in a data in motion ideally. Okay. And data at rest is, it is neither at endpoint, means the user is not working on that data. It is neither in a motion, it is not in the pipe, it is somewhere in ideal condition, right? Nobody is touching that data. So for example, your 2 years, 3 years, 5 years old emails, so those emails are stored on the certain archival servers or on exchange servers somewhere, okay, which is in ideal condition. So nobody is accessing that emails, nobody is sending that emails, it is there, but right. So your files, file servers, your databases, your emails, old emails, all are data at rest. So are you all clear on these 3 points: motion, rest, and use? Or anybody has anything to ask?
Anything that is data on at storage is also at rest, right?
That's right. That's right. So any data which is ideal, which is not currently being used, or it is not in the network, it is not currently in pipe, right? It is not in a transmission mode. So it is all data is a data at rest. For example, if you have a copied data on your portable drive, right? It's a data at rest. If it is a data backup is taken on the tape, it's a data at rest. Motion means it is on the way. It is on the way before it reach to the recipient, right? So since data are in these three phases, motion, rest, and use, the DLP is also designed in a similar way, because they know if I have to protect the data, the DLP has to look into all these three phases. So they have designed their DLP in a such a way that will monitor the data and use, rest, and motion. So similar way, they have these three solutions. Now, what questions the DLP answers? So when you have a DLP solution, you implement the DLP solution, it will answer where is the confidential data is stored, where is the data sent out, who is accessing data, should have full right of data, protection from external intruder, compliance of data protection laws, protect data in the cloud, protect data in the endpoint, and prevent emails from sensitive content. So once you implement the DLP solution, you will get visibility. Who is sending, where is sending, through which channel sending, what was the time attachment, how many time it's sending, okay, whether he is allowed to access or not. So you will get the visibility, and you will get the visibility, not all kind of data, the data which you are concerned about, the data which you classified as a sensitive, right? Now what are the channels? So if user has to leak data, then what are the potential channels? So DLP has covered all the potential channels through which data can be leaked, data can be breached. Now either it can be email channel, people may send some sensitive data through email, through web, through USB, CD, DVD, print. They can take the print, because if, sorry, if user think if I will send email or web, the DLP system will capture, or somebody will monitor. So I will, let me take the print out, nobody will know. So print is also covered in the DLP. Instant messaging, websites, cloud, FTP. So almost 99.99 all the channels through which data can be leaked, DLP by design has covered all the potential channels, and it almost do not allow to leak any data unless until uh, there is any vulnerability, there is any gap, there is a lack of poor, I mean there is a poor policies, or not proper access control, or there is something 0-day kind of thing, which DLP is not thought of, they don't have that solution, or there is a limitation, right? So when there is certain penetration testing are done on DLP, so sometimes they perform certain kind of activities, certain kind of data transfer attempts, through which they find out the gap, the risk in the DLP, the certain limitations of the DLP they exploit. So that is the part of DLP consultant. So there are as a 0.1% I kept, because you cannot give guarantee that your DLP solution is 100% secured and it will able to prevent all kind of data breaches. So there is always some kind of risk that you have to proactively identify and put controls if there is any limitations. Now what is the data loss prevention? So where is your confidential data, how it is being used, and how best to prevent its loss? So it will answer these three, and accordingly they have three solutions. Discover will discover where the confidential data, monitor will monitor how the data is going, who is sending, where is sending, and protect, it will block. If it identified perfectly that he is unauthorized recipient sender, it will block. And discover has a capability like it can scan, it has a high performance, it identify the data owners, monitor, cover all exit points and user activities, protect, educate users in real time. So if somebody is trying to copy any data to the removable media, so what will happen, DLP agent will pop up, it will generate the pop-up and it will educate the user. If user is unaware, he doesn't have the user awareness session and he is not well aware of, the DLP agent will pop up and it will educate like, hey, see, this is the sensitive data as per organization policy, and it is not allowed to send. Then you have certain options like my manager has approved, okay, this is not a sensitive data, or certain justification. So if there is a genuine business requirements, you can justify those reasons, otherwise you can cancel it, and so that unintentional or accidental data breach can be prevented. And to manage all these three, there is a management server. Now these are the threat coverage, like if network, email, webmail, instant messaging, FTP, these are the channels which through which data breach, and DLP can protect. Now storage, file server, SharePoint, Lotus Notes, databases, web servers. And if it is endpoint, it's a untrusted network, prints, USB, DVD, CD. And in middle, there is a policy which ideally take care of everything. Now content analysis technique. So how the organization will protect the sensitive data. So you have to identify, you have to classify, and you have to create a block rule. So to identify and classify, you have to convert those identification and classification into the rule, into the policy. So there is a policy creation in DLP has to be done. Now, rule-based regular expressions. So let's suppose you have a Aadhaar number, you have a PAN card number, or you have a Singapore NRIC number or FIN number, so or social security number, so or bank account number. So some kind of identity numbers, associated to you or individual have some certain kind of patterns. So for example, PAN card, it's a first two characters, then numbers, then characters. So it has some patterns, right? In credit card also certain patterns. It's a 14 digit or 16 digit only. It will not go above. So to capture those kind of data which has a pattern, you have a regular expression. So regular expression, it's one of technique and rule where you can define your policies through a mathematical expressions. So for example, you will create, let me explain you how it is. Share whiteboard. Okay. You're able to see my whiteboard? Hello?
Yeah, yes, Kishore.
Okay, okay. So for regular expression, like let's suppose it's your PAN card number is CP1 2 3 4 A Z. So if you see first two character, then character, and then number. Okay. So you see it's a CK, means it is something between A to Z. So you may create a policy. Okay. A
Yeah, unable
Z.
to.
Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, Kishore.
Yeah. So you will create policy like, first character should be A to Z. Then you will put numbers. It's 0 to 9. It is not actual. I'm not teaching you the actual regular expression. It is just for your understanding. 0 to 9. Then you will create again bracket A to Z. Okay. So it will give you idea like, first two characters should be A to Z, then numbers A to Z. So this is how, okay. So this is how the regular expression can be created. So you have to define where the character, where is the number, what are the symbols accordingly. We'll see those policy part later in the sessions. Then database fingerprinting, exact file matching, then partial document matching, statistic analysis, and conceptual lexicon. So basically, more or less in DLP, how the policies are created to detect the sensitive information. Either you can, if you have any document, it has some unique keywords. So you will capture certain keywords like confidential, then important, it is restricted. So you will put all those keywords in the policy so that DLP is a watchman. DLP is something like, a watchman at your society gate. It will watch who is going inside or who is going outside, right? But DLP duty is just to watch who is going out from inside, who is going out, and what it has. It has anything unauthorized things. So once you tell that watchman that, if somebody is going out, if he has a red bag, just stop it and ask, right? So similar way, DLP, you have to tell, like, if any information which is going out has a confidential keyword, a restricted keyword, very important, okay, financial informations, whatever keywords you will put in the policy, it will match against the information which is going out. Okay, and it will take action accordingly. Whether you have defined block, it will block. And for pattern, you have to create the regular expressions, right? And then another technique is the exact data matching or the index data matching. In both ways, it is for structured and unstructured. So like your Excel sheet, it's a structured data. Your database, it's a structured data. Then your SOP, your payslip are unstructured data. Okay, so for those you have to use IDM policy, index data matching. So what it does basically, it hashes the content. So if it is a SOP, it will hash the document, it will generate the certain hash values, and whenever somebody is trying to send, it will compare against the hash values, right? So that is the way of matching and detecting the sensitive information. So DLP is it has some predefined policies also, because they know industry need it. So for bank, they have financial policies to, like credit card number, financial data, confidential data, the GDPR data. So they have already defined certain policies which you can use, and you can customize it, and you can also create those policies. Anybody has any question on policy?
Policy will vary from company to company, right?
That's right. So policy will depends on the company to company, because the information which is having any organization is different from one organization to different other organization. So it is always a different information, and one information which is sensitive for one organization may not necessary, it will be very important for the other organization. So each organization define their own sensitive information, they classify, right? But ideally the PI data, PCI data, or company strategy documents, or financial kind of documents, these are very common document which is sensitive for every organization, right? So in policy, ideally there is a three aspects. One is a rule, other is a group, and third is a action. Now rule means what you want to detect, what you want to match. So you can put keywords, I wanted to match confidential document. So any document which has a confidential document must be detected. So that is what I have defined as a detection rule. Okay. Now group means which user, which department. So I can apply that policy for HR document, HR department. I can apply that policy for research and development department, because they are more sensitive departments. Or I can apply this rule for the finance department, because they hold financial information. So I can define the users on which I wanted to apply that policy. Then third part is action. Now once it is detected as a sensitive information or a confidential document, second, it is detected in the HR department. Now what, whether I wanted to just monitor and log, or I wanted to block it, so I can define that action. Okay, this is how the DLP policy, three aspects. Now architecture wise, this is a typical semantic DLP architecture. If you talk about the vendor, it's a semantic DLP. So semantic DLP, this is a typical architecture. Excuse me. So there is a this is a policy management enforce platform. So it has these are the different components, as we have learned in previous slides, like data in motion, REST. So this is your data at rest, this is your management server, and motion, right? This is data in motion, this is data at rest, and this is data in use. Okay, so this is for data in use, this is for data at rest, and this is for data in motion, and this is to manage everyone. Okay, so enforce platform. Now enforce is a management server, it is a main server. Okay, it will manages all other DLP servers, whether it's a motion or use or a rest. So in DLP there is a network monitor, network email prevent, and web prevent. Now network monitor is a server which will just monitor. So for example, if you have a society and at gate there is a watchman and the instruction is given, you just have to monitor, you do not need to ask any question the people who are going out. Okay, and just record it, who is going at what time. So monitor server is similar way, it will not do anything, it will just monitor. So if any sensitive information is matched, detected, it will just log, it will just make entry like yes, this has been detected, but it will not block, it will not challenge anything, right? Wherein network prevent for email, it has ability to prevent. It will able to block. It will not only detect, but also it has ability to block. So let's say you have created policy that if confidential document found in any document, and user A want to send to an unauthorized recipient, this must be blocked. So based on the policy, the network prevent email will block. Okay, it will block. And same way the web, if any web request or any web upload like Gmail, if somebody is trying to send, then this network prevent for web will block it. So email is ideally integrated with mail transfer agent MTA, and web proxy with web prevent with web proxy. Okay, and here it's endpoint agent. So there is one like antivirus, there is one agent which is installed on endpoint user machine. And the best part of endpoint is the highest capability in DLP, because endpoint can monitor email, endpoint can monitor web, endpoint can monitor everything, because all the activity of data breach is happen from endpoint, from end user who is an insider, malicious user. So at endpoint it has all the capabilities. And the best part is, even though he is not connected to the corporate network, in offline also it works. So even though if he is not connected to VPN, or it is not connected to the office network, and he or she is working at home, still the DLP agent in offline continue to scan if any sensitive data is going to be copied or breached. And here it data at rest. Okay, here it's a data at rest for like network discover. So network discover and protect, the best part of it is, in your environment, in your IT infrastructure, you are not aware of where are your confidential data. So what you can do is you can define the range of IP that you wanted to scan. So it will scan all the servers remotely, and get the inventory of the sensitive information it found, right? And if you define whether you wanted to block it, or remove that sensitive information from the those servers, then you can create policy accordingly, like quarantine. Because for storage case you have a rule of quarantine. So what it will do, it will remove that sensitive information from that server to the safe place, and it will keep one marker file just for user reference if it is a genuine case, so that user can coordinate with the respective team to get his data back if it is a genuine business requirement. So this is how the DLP can scan your environment and get the inventory of sensitive information, so that you will have visibility and you can take actions accordingly, right? And email and web, this is what. Now data inside NAS devices, then these file servers, databases, platform, websites, your laptop, desktops. Here it's a USB, DVD, email, fax, application file access, like BitTorrent or any other applications through which data can be leaked. SMTP, FTP, HTTPS, SMTP, HTTP, instant messaging. So so in web only TCP based communication DLP can monitor. Now how network monitor works. So whenever user sends any network transmission, any data, get or post, so the span port, it is a core switch. So it is a core switch, after which the data goes out of your environment, it goes to the internet. So from core switch there is a port mirroring, or there is a tap through which this DLP monitor server, it get the copy of the traffic, okay, on the monitor server. So whatever user wants to send data, it will continue to go out internet, but the copy of that packet, copy of that traffic, sends the copy of this network traffic, it will sends to network monitor, and it will passively monitor. So it will not do anything actively, it will just passively monitor and get the incidents. Now for network prevent for email, uh, if user sends the email, it goes to the exchange server or email server, then empty, and then MTW forward to the email server. Now email server will scan the information whether this email contains any sensitive information or not. If found, then whatever action has to take, either block or allow, accordingly it will forward back to MTA and then it will go out. Okay, so if we
Kishore, sorry to interrupt, Kishore.
Yeah.
You are explaining this architecture is particularly for semantic or normal architecture. So like basic how.
Okay, so this architecture is a semantic architecture, semantic DLP, but conceptually
email traffic is.
Yeah, email traffic, but conceptually it is the same in every DLP solution. Conceptually it is same in any, you take any McAfee or WebSense, anybody, ultimately the email server of your organization will forward to the McAfee email prevent or WebSense email prevent or any other email prevent. It will always receive the traffic from the mail servers, your Exchange server or Lotus servers, through MTA, or there will be multiple MTA. But after email server, it will again be after email server and before your email go out, in between, any DLP server will monitor your email. Got it?
Okay, got it. So one more point I want to discuss. You said if a user sent a mail, it will irrespective of online connectivity or offline, it will get detect.
That's
So
right.
how it is, because I have a doubt. If user did not connect LAN connection and he is using through a broadband connection, that email going, how the traffic is going.
Okay.
You got my question, or should I
Yeah, I got
repeat
it. I got it. So what I understood is user is not connected to the office network and still he's using his home internet Wi-Fi and he is sending something to outside, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So for the similar concern, the DLP has designed the DLP agent. Okay, so like your antivirus, it scans each activity that you do on your machine, right? And if at the moment it notice or it detect any virus or anything, it block it. So similar way, DLP agent is actively monitoring on your machine, and the policies which are created, like I wanted to protect anything which is sensitive or confidential document, those policies are also there in the agent. So when the user attempt to send anything outside, that agent itself, it will monitor or block. So if you have a defined policy of blocking, it will block. It will not allow to send any sensitive file of your organization through Gmail or any website. Your agent is there because you're not connected to the office network. So your information is not going at all to the office network. But your local DLP agent has that capability to monitor and scan if he's trying to send anything sensitive. Understood?
Got it. One more doubt. See, you are telling my current policy is working, and based on that, it's blocking.
Yes.
So I changed the policy in between. Administrator changed the policy, and administrator made a different policy. So user is not connected to, still not connecting to LAN and working on broadband. So how my new policy will push if it's not connecting to LAN, and how it works?
Okay. Absolutely, it's very logical that if there is no communication between agent and the server through the corporate network, it won't get the latest policies. So if it will not get the latest policies, it won't be able to detect the latest rules that you have defined. So it will only able to detect the policies which your agent has already got when it was connected earlier to the organization network.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. But while you're explaining, please explain that how online infra email traffic is going on when user connects to offline infra. How traffic is going on? Is it the same way traffic is going, or a different way?
Can you repeat your question?
My question here. Here you are explaining when a user sent email to outside the organization, it will pass our email server, then it will go to MTA, then from there again traffic will go to network prevent for email. Then it will go outside the organization.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is how it's when user connects to our LAN
Yes.
or office infra.
Yeah.
So if user is not connected to infra, user is connected to broadband, no connectivity with the office network, how the traffic is going then?
Okay. So ideally, in a controlled and a secured environment, every organization, they allow to enter their network through VPN only. Direct infra, direct you cannot get into the organization network. So VPN is something which 99% all organization, through which they allow into access. Now, in your case, where you are saying if the user is not connected to the office infra and if still he is trying to send something, then that's because this is the email prevent. Okay, so it is a separate DLP component which is made for the data in motion. Okay, if data is already been sent user and user doesn't have DLP agent. Okay, if the user on user machine DLP agent is not there, so in office infra this network prevent for email will able to monitor and block, right? But in this case where user is not connected to the office network and still you wanted to protect, then you need a DLP agent on the machine itself, user's machine. So once the user's machine have the DLP agent and the latest policies being deployed, because before to get the policies, it has to be at least once it has to be connected to the office network to get the policies. Once it's got the policies, then if it is disconnected, still it has locally stored the policies, and based on that it will detect everything. If you are trying to copy anything on removal media, if you're trying to send anything through email or web, okay, every activity DLP will scan against the confidential data policy, and if it is blocked, then it will block. That is a simple way.
Okay, Kishore, that point I got it. My question here, in normal email traffic is going when they connect to office infra from end user machine to it will pass through MT and it will go to directly it will go to email server.
Yes.
So when I'm not connected to office network, so my email still it go to email server first and it will pass MT and it will go.
Are you talking about email of office emails or any Gmail or something?
So,
Not
sorry for
I'm not-
interruption. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, tell me.
Kishore. I
Yeah.
think there is one observation. Okay, when we have connected to VPN, okay, there is a policy implementation. Means it is all. If we open a Gmail, okay, we connected to VPN, okay, and we open the Gmail, it's getting pop up that it has been blocked. Okay, and if we disconnected through VPN and we open the Gmail, okay, it's open. The console is unable to send the mails.
Yes.
Okay, if we have sent any email, okay, in any file via Gmail, while we have not connected to VPN, will be
Okay.
monitored.
Yes. Yes.
That's I want to know.
Okay. Okay. So let me answer the both questions.
Because it's possible. Because it's possible.
Understood.
Oh yeah, sure.
So both cases, in the first question when she was asking, so if I'm not connected to VPN, still I'm sending the email, will it be able to capture? So how it is, the organization nowadays, they have also kept certain exchange server, on a DMZs or on a through which through internet we can directly have access to our emails. So if you don't have even VPN, okay, even you just connect your internet, you are not connected to VPN, still you are able to get the latest emails, you are able to send emails, right? So for that they have a separate infrastructure which are kept on DMZ, and it ultimately get it's a public facing exchange servers. So ultimately the routings of the emails, it will always go through your office emails through office exchange servers only. It will always, your all office emails, either you're connected to VPN or not, in both cases the routing of your emails will always go through the organizational email servers only. And the moment it reaches to the organizational email server, before it reaches to the recipient, it has to pass through the DLP server. Because just understand the basic point here is DLP will like a middleman before like agent, right? If somebody is trying to sell something or send something, the DLP should come into the picture. It should be middleman. So before sender, I mean after sender send something and recipient receive something, in between DLP should come into the picture. It has to scan, detect and prevent, right? So nowadays, since we are working from home, so there is an infrastructural change where even though if you're not connected to VPN, still you're able to receive and send your emails. Am I right?
Right.
So in that case also, the routing is still there, that your email will always pass through the DLP. It's just that you have on premises a LAN infrastructure. So your Exchange server are kept on LAN infra, and there is some Exchange server they kept in the DMZ, so that the people who doesn't get into your office network through VPN, still they will able to connect the secondary Exchange server which is kept in the DMZ, a public facing, right? And still it will forward to DLP. That architectural changes has to be made. If it is on premises, it is made, like if whatever you are able to see in presentation, it is a typical infrastructure. But nowadays in work from home, if they kept the email server in the DMZ and public facing infra, right? So that they have to define the routing of that email through DLP. They have to forward that emails to the DLP server, and then again they have to continue to process. So that changes has to be made, otherwise it will miss. And for the other question, through if I will send through Gmail, so your DLP
Yes.
your DLP agent is that's the purpose. So at endpoint level, when you're not in a secure network, you're not connected to the office network, you're not connected to VPN, your agent in offline, it will continue to monitor whatever activity you're doing. An activity in terms of the data transfer activity. If you are trying to copy anything, remote media will be blocked. If you're trying to copy anything on the this Gmail, the moment you attached sensitive file itself, it will block. It will not allow to attach itself, right? Because to attach that file has to upload. The file has to upload on the Gmail server, right? Then it will deliver. So it will not allow you to attach itself. And many organization, as you mentioned, when you connect to VPN, Gmail will not open. But when you connect it to your internet, home internet, it will allow, because in home internet, you continue to do, access the all browsings. But when you connect it to VPN, it should be secure browsing. So they allow only secure traffic to go, right? And even in locally also, there is a way. I mean, many organization even locally, they do not allow to access Gmail. It just they have to define the policy in their endpoint solutions and deploy. If at endpoint level they will deploy that policy that Gmail should not open, whether it's a VPN connected or not connected, you will not able to open Gmail. But they give leverage that in when you're not connected to VPN, you continue to access Gmail and browse through. But when you connect to VPN, we want a filtered and secured traffic which is allowed in our environment. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing I want.
Hello.
Which you have told us. Okay. So what is the active means happen at that time only? It's got pop up, or it's got block, or what is in a passive? I want to know that.
I didn't get your question. Can you repeat?
No. In a last slide, you said that it is an active or passive monitoring.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what is exactly that?
Okay.
What is active and passive?
Okay. So in active and passive means, active means in real time. Active means it's a real time. Passive means it is not real time. So for example, I for forensics, I collected certain data from the machine and then I given to you, and I told you, please, take your time and just scan and understand if there is anything wrong happen. So this is a passive monitoring. But in real time, if some user is doing something and in real time, I am monitoring something on server through console, it's a active monitoring. Right? So in active monitoring in DLP and passive monitoring, how it is, there is a network monitor solution. So network monitor solution, it doesn't have ability to block anything. What it just do, the span port, the switch, it creates the copy of the traffic which is going out. it copy that traffic and it just forward to the network monitor. So network monitor receives the copy of the traffic and it scans. It scans, it generates the DLP incident like this user, this recipient, they send this data, this is sensitive information. It will not block anything. So in a way, it's actively monitoring only, but it doesn't have ability to block.
Okay. Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
See here, this is how. So your span port or tab, whatever traffic user will send out, like you're sending even sensitive information, it will allow to go. It will go to the internet. But at the same time, it will copy that traffic, whatever you are sending out. It will take copy of the traffic because there is a port mirroring in a switch port. You have to do certain configurations where it create the duplicate packets. I mean, copy the packets, and it will forward that traffic to the our DLP server, monitor server, where it will scan and it will inform to the management server. So this is our email routing. User sends, go to MTA forward to email server forward to MTA forwards to email prevent. Now this is our DLP email prevent server. It will scan and it will give command whether it has to block or allow. If it is given the command block, it will block it. The mail will not go out. If it is allowed, the mail will further go out. This is our network prevent for web. User will send some data through proxy. Proxy will forward that data post or attachments to the this network prevent for web. Here it will scans, and according to scanning, it will give command to proxy whether this terminate this connection or block this attachment or do not allow to attach the file or whatever. So action taken by the proxy, command given by the DLP prevent, and scanning and detecting done by the network prevent for web. So all your HTTPS traffics will be scanned here. Okay, and this is active. So web proxy, it will forward here whatever request or traffic or attachment. It will scan, it will give command back, then it will allow to go out or block. This is your endpoint. So in endpoint, you have a DLP agent on your machine. If it will inspect all the internal drives, USB, CD, DVD, email, FTP, print, your fax drivers, Windows clipboards, copy paste, screenshot for policy violations. If violation is being happen, it will block based on flex response rules. Let me connect to my power unit. Just give me a second. I think the session is little bit extended. Hope you are enjoying. So then if violation has been identified by the DLP endpoint agent, it will initiate the response rule. Response rule means the moment it has been identified and confirmed it's a sensitive data, what action has to be taken, that is the response rule. So either it's a notify, there will be email generated, or there will be a pop-up generated on the user machine that this is a sensitive data you are not supposed to send, or it will straightforward block. Then agent sends these incidents to the Enforce server. As I mentioned earlier, Enforce is a main server, management server, which manages everything on DLP. So in every DLP vendor, you will see one management server. Okay. So all the incidents, so locally, whatever incidents are, it gathered, and all are encrypted form. Okay. So no user or nobody can copy that incidents and then do something. It's an encrypted form. So that incidents will be sent to the Enforce server. Now DLP incident means what? It will have a forensic data. Forensic data means who was the sender, who was the recipient, what was the attachment, what was the information, what time it was sent, right? Which department, which country. So all user related information will be gathered, and it is available on a DLP incident console. And even agent functions when disconnected and stored incident data. So if it is not connected to organization network, still it will detect all the data breaches. It will keep the incident data, and the moment it connect to the organization data, it will send all the forensic data, right? Anybody has any doubt? Can we move?
Can you repeat again
Yes,
if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So in DLP agent perspective, how it is like your antivirus on your machine, similar way, there is a DLP agent installed on your machine. And that DLP agent machine, DLP agent is a, temper proof. Means you cannot uninstall, remove, delete, you cannot do anything. It will be a secured installation, first of all. Second thing, whatever incident or data or policy, whatever stored locally, it will be in encrypted form. So nobody is able to do anything, right? Third thing is, if any, advanced user who wanted to stop the DLP agent to do certain malicious activity, the DLP agent will not stop because it has a watchdog services. Now, what is the watchdog services? There is a set of two services. So those two services, they keep eye on each other. So any of the services stopped or attempt to stop, the other service will automatically start the other service, right? So they ensure that the DLP service is keep running. Nobody is able to stop. So you cannot uninstall, you cannot remove, you cannot delete, you cannot stop, you cannot copy, you cannot decrypt. So at most all, you know, uh, everything was taken care to secure the DLP agent itself. Then the duty of DLP agent is either user is connected to corporate network or not connected network. It is continue to detect any data breach attempt. Let's say user is trying to copy anything or remove media, it will scan, it will pop up, it will block, right? It is depends on what policy you have created. If you have created policy that if user is trying to copy, just notify, then it will just notify. If you have created policy, if user is trying to copy any sensitive information, block, it will block.
As I'm so sorry to excuse me.
Yeah.
What happens? So what you're saying is anything which is drafted as per the policy
Yes,
is what is been acted accordingly. Correct?
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Nothing,
So,
anything beyond.
no, nothing beyond it. So it will not detect and prevent everything. It will only detect and prevent which is defined as per organization a policy as a sensitive. So in organization, they perform the data flow analysis, data classification exercise where they, within the organization, they identify what are the sensitive informations. Accordingly, they create policies. So let's say you have your pay slip and you're trying to send. So it is your personal, right? Organization is not bother about that. So it will not block. Okay. So it is always based on policies. Yes, please.
Kishore, I have doubt. You said when end user, if they're trying to uninstall DLP agent or something, it will not happen because we have some system to identify it. So some service if stops from endpoint machine, how admin will get to know this activity? Will it give any kind of uh, uh, alert or anything?
Yes. Yes. So how it is?
Answer.
Yes. So how it is?
Please, please.
Yeah. So how it is like the DLP agent which is installed on your machine, it periodically sends the heartbeat. It periodically say hello to the management server. Okay. So it gives the message that yes, I'm alive, I'm up and running. So that message is periodically given to the server. So if agent has any issue, if a server is not able to get any hello from the agent, then it will change the status of that agent is a unhealthy or critical, right? So the administrator, right, the DLP manager or DLP administrator will come to know that these are the 10 machines or these are the 10 agents, they are currently unhealthy condition, they are critical condition, they are not functioning well. So it has to be addressed.
Okay.
Yeah, I had one more query here.
Mhm.
See, in the eventuality of a breach, or say somebody remotely trying to access
Mhm.
without any kind of, so it still provokes in terms of no, this is a sensitive information. No, as you mentioned, that there is a notification which will get pop up
Yes.
saying that no, it is an important one. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it still does that.
Yes. Yes. So you mean to say like RDP? from your machine you're taking RDP of other user.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. And just in continuation to my query, in that kind of scenario, as you said that no anything happens. Yes, anything happens within the organization as far as the data is concerned, individual or the company per se, it has a replica or a probably mirroring is already available, right? Mirror data is already there. Like no,
Yes.
I mean redundancy is still there. Is what I'm trying to understand.
Yes.
So in that kind of scenario, in case of any kind of unethical access, let's say, will it still have that particular record that no, I mean from which IP, who accessed, blah blah blah?
Yes. So the scope of DLP is limited to the sensitive data. So if any user is trying to send any email or web, right, and data has a sensitive information, so by its design, it will able to detect, prevent, and record all the information related to user. Now there would be some cases, where some tricky things happen. For example, user is denying, I didn't send this email, I didn't send this request, I'm not aware, because let's say some I would say some virus or some threat which is there in machine dormant, and in backend it is sending some data, and DLP has captured because DLP is there to capture. But user is saying, I'm not aware
True.
of, I have not sent this data, I'm completely aware of. So there is some bot or something which talking to command and control center, and it's trying to send something. So in that case, the advanced analysis has to be done from DLP perspective as well as network perspective. So on proxy logs and in DLP web prevent logs, those logs has to be assessed thoroughly, like how the connection established, what time it was established, how was data being sent, through which command. So there is some advanced analysis of the log has to be done to come to the conclusion, right? Anything
Hello,
else?
Fine.
Kishore.
Yes. Who is
Yeah,
this?
I Harshad over here.
Yeah, Harshad.
I have a doubt. Like, suppose in case if an organization is doing work from home, and like they don't provide their own asset, like we don't get the laptop or desktop, anything from their side. In that case, we use our laptops and our desktop.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, like, can we install the DLP agent over there?
No.
Like on the personal laptop?
No. So DLP agent can be installed on any device. That is okay. But by logic, by practices, your personal laptop is a personal laptop. You're not abide to install unless until there is an agreement between you and your organization. But in ideal condition, it is not, absolutely not allowed to install DLP agent on your personal machines. It is organizational softwares, organizational controls are always expected to be installed on the organizational assets. And even it is also risky for them. I mean, DLP, they are installing just for their protection, but there are many applications, business application, they may ask you to install on your personal machine, which is, they are increasing risk to allow, because they don't have much control on those things. But yes, the fact of the matter is, organization cannot install their applications or security tools on your personal laptop unless until
so like in that case, how so in that case, how can we protect? Suppose if there's a Lotus webmail that the user uses on his like personal laptop or anything, so in that case, how can we prevent it? If anything, like he uses the Citrix applications and all, so how can we prevent that scenario?
Okay. So nowadays, how it is, like many people are working from home due to COVID-19, which is very obvious. And in IT, almost 80-90% everybody is working from home. So organization now, they have an infrastructure like a Citrix. So in Citrix, how it is, like, though you have your personal laptop, you will access the Citrix and you go to their organizational desktops and you will work there. So whatever work you're doing, whatever data you're handling, it is there on their infra, right? Just you're using your machine to access that machine, right? So in that case, Citrix doesn't allow you to copy anything from that desktop, organizational desktop, to your machine. On your local machine, you cannot copy paste anything. So that is one security they address. Okay. Now, second thing, you're talking about OVA or Lotus Node webmail. So
Yeah,
ideally, organization should not encourage to use personal laptop, and that to the O1 webmail access, which is you are giving the risk surface to get breach or exploit. But there are certain policies which can be enabled. For example, yes, you can access the webmail, but you cannot download. It's a read only. So you will able to
Okay.
read emails, you are able to read attachments, but you will not able to download the attachments. So this is certain best practices and policies and controls which help, but it is recommended to reduce the or minimize the risk surface as much. I mean, uh, if you have a less surface to attack, it is always secured rather than you have a huge space, huge surface to attack, right?
I'm
Right.
just sorry to interrupt here.
Yeah.
What happens to a scenario where the company, let's say I'm using a Gmail,
Mhm.
okay, and company also has provided me since the G Suite, so
Mhm.
everybody has a Gmail account,
Yeah.
So in that kind of scenario, how do you able to address this?
Okay. Okay. So Google Gmail is a Google product, right? So
Yeah.
Google has also a DLP solution. Google has also DLP solution, and I think if you have purchased their Google Workplace a solution, which is normally used for organizational requirements, so you can leverage their DLP solution, because ultimately uh, uh, in their corporate Gmail corporate account which they give, what kind of policies and controls they are providing, I'm not very much aware of. But what I'm aware of is they have also DLP solution which will help, but I'm doubtful that they have DLP agent. So as long as you are sending receiving something over the email or their Google infra or Gmail infra, their DLP will able to protect. But if you're not connected to their Google infra and you are doing something on your endpoint, then you need a DLP endpoint, otherwise you won't be able to protect. Anybody can.
Correct, but actually, okay, how the company is currently doing is they are just we are as per the company policy, we just have this endpoint security on the laptop. But otherwise, like no, I mean everybody uses. I mean everybody has multiple accounts and multiple IDs at times. I mean, so I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
So I have the same experience what I carry on my personal Gmail ID vis-a-vis with what I have official Gmail account. Official ID. So I don't see any difference. And I personally suspect. I'm talking about officially. Personally suspect and know whether anything related to download restrictions or desktop access
Yes.
objections
Yes.
or any of those kind is available probably
Yes.
are been in effect probably.
Yes.
Endpoint security is there. You can't. I mean, we can't put any kind of USB on our
Yes.
laptop.
So how it is, like if a small scale organization who doesn't have the budget for installing a end-to-end DLP solution, so there are certain best practices, process, controls through which you can reduce the risk, right? So for example, in such cases where you don't have DLP but you have an endpoint solution, which is a minimum requirement, right? Which is a minimum requirement if you have to access the internet. So on endpoint solution also you have certain policies, like you can restrict the removable media, CD, DVD, any external devices, USB devices. You can block the social media. Okay, you can block the almost all kind of websites other than your official websites or the web URLs that you wanted to allow. So you can put certain controls within your endpoint, because it's endpoint. So at endpoint level you can also put certain controls which will restrict the user to do further with anything data rather than monitoring and blocking. So that is one thing that you can do. Then you can have individual IDs, not a common ID being used everywhere, so that we don't have any accountability who has downloaded what and who has copied what. So there would be accountability with the individual user IDs, so that it can be tracked, and in a forensic logs it can be identified who has accessed the data and what time and so on. So access control and the endpoint controls combined will help to reduce the risk, right? So can we move to next slide?
Yeah, please.
So this is our endpoint discovery. It is basically a DLP endpoint only. You just have to enable to scan. So you can also scan the endpoint user machine, like does he hold any sensitive information, and it can quarantine through DLP agent. Then this is network discover. It's similar. Remotely, you can insert what IP or server you wanted to scan. It remotely, it will scan those servers and get the information about sensitive information. Right. Data insight is basically, it's a file server. I mean, it will gather the information, who is accessing file server, what data he is using. So it will give you the visibility. Who are the data owner, who is using it, how many time he is using it, what he is doing. So you can get the some, you know, suspected risk, or you get some kind of idea why this a person is not relevant to this data, why he is accessing. So you may get certain kind of visibility, right, before it the data is go to a wrong hand. This is the detection perspective. Content, like structured data, your health data, then PI data, then design documents, source codes, credit card, social security numbers, then department voice. So you can create policies around this. What kind of content, what if for particular department you can apply policy, for particular partners, contractors, country specific, branches. Okay. Document type, like I wanted to monitor only PDF, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So you can, that also you can specify, right? Then scales, like how many records and so on. This is application file access. If any application like Skype, WebEx, Google Chrome, iTunes, if those applications through which data can be, if somebody is trying to attempt to copy, then still you have control. In application control, you can define that this is the Skype, please monitor for this policy, it will monitor. So how the DLP incident approach? You have to define the policy, you have to detect the incidents, you have to handle the incident. Means you have to analyze who sent, why sent. So if ABC at Singapore.com, right? So if he's sending ABC at gmail.com, so we easily understand this is, he's sending data to the personal email ID, and data which he's sending is sensitive, and there is no justification for it. So it's very obvious that it's a data breach incident. So define, detect, handle, escalate. You can escalate to the user's manager who attempted this data. He will investigate, he will talk to the user, then they will respond, and then there will be report and action will be taken. So this is a simple approach for DLP incidents. 5 signs of your organization data is at risk. If employee are not trained and educated about data protection policy, they are not unaware of steps to care protective data. Employees sending sensitive data in unsecured channels, like they're sending to their personal data, they're copying to removable media, or they're copying to cloud storage like Google Drive and so on, right? They are breaking the rules as per their convenience. They will say, I have to work from home, that's why I copied, and so on. Then they have multiple access which they don't need, but still they have full access. So these all indicate there is a sign of, your organization data is at risk. Then an effective DLP program requires an understanding of what data you have, value of your data, obligations, your data is going, how is you protect your data, then your protection gaps and risk, and how you respond to DLP incidents. And what you can do to prevent. You can prevent intentional, unintentional disclosure of sensitive data. If you block the unauthorized parties, then maintain adequate security, protect customer data and reputations, and you can have a risk assessment and access controls and endpoint security things. These are some controls that you put to protect your data. In data in motion, you have perimeter security like your firewalls, network monitoring solutions, then access controls, internet access control like proxy, right? Then data collection and exchange, messaging, email, remote access. So you can just put those controls to avoid any kind of data breach through data in motion. Then data in use, privileged user monitoring, give a limited access to the user, access logs monitorings, and then data at rest. your endpoint machines, endpoint security, then encryption should be there, right? Then internet storage and those things should be limited, physical media control like removable media and so on. These are certain processes like business continuity, digital right management, incident response, physical security, like your laptop should be in a safe place where nobody should, steal. Then vulnerability assessment, training and awareness. So in DLP, training and awareness is the most important, because if you aware, if you train your employee user well, they would understand their responsibilities and they will be careful when they are handling the sensitive data. These are the most important data like corporate data, price, cost, target customer list, design, source code, formula, pending patents, intellectual property, bank payments, revenue potentials, discount ratios, contact details, spending habits, customer list, payment status, PI data, your full name, birthday, biometric data, national identification number, credit card numbers, license numbers, any preferences, and maturity model. Maturity model means at first day you cannot block anything. Like I have implemented DLP policy and let me block everything. So your business will block. Nobody will able to do anything. So at first place you should monitor. Let them send whatever they are sending. Just keep monitor, and slowly you understand and fine tune your policies. Like let me reduce this. Let me add more keywords. Let me remove some keywords. There is a very so monitor your incidents and policies slowly, and over the time when you are sure like there is a limited incidents, employee are not sending much to the unauthorized recipient, you can start blocking. So this is the incident workflow. Like it's an incident team, they get all the incidents on DLP console, they will distribute to the different departments, right? And here escalated team, they will have a separate business unit head, spokes, single point of contact, from like finance team, HR team, and so on. So either you have a dedicated incident team, or from business you will assign certain member to investigate those DLP incidents. Then common DLP programs and mistakes. So data protection efforts tend to focus on technology. So many organizations, they put more effort and focus on implementing the DLP solution, not into protecting the actual data through the precise policies. Then poor information classification. So the right sensitive information are not properly identified and classified. No authoritative source exists, no ownerships. Access approvals are not proper. Then ownership for non-user accounts are not taken care. Tips to help optimize your DLP program: identify and classify your data. Be concerned about view only access. Try to give you view only access the people who want to access certain data. Implement data management lifecycle. Update your policies. Improve your authorization and access control. Do not allow unauthorized devices or unauthorized people to access your network. Do not permit copying sensitive data on removable media. Understand data usage. Take a risk-based approach and audit your compliance. And you should have a data breach incident response. So if data is being breached, how will you manage? How will you handle? How will you respond? That plan should be there. And it has to be communicated well. Then question to ask before you deploy DLP: what data you want to protect? What is your corporate culture? Like in some corporate culture, it's very friendly and very open, so they allow you to all kind of access, they do all kind of thing. So all of a sudden if you start blocking anything, the people will not accept. They will some way they will reject the DLP itself. So according to the corporate culture, you have to change the culture slowly. Then do you have a buy-in from business stakeholders, and how are you going to roll out DLP? So you should have a plan, how you want to roll out, like in 1 year, 3 months, 6 months, 2 year, how is your budget and overall things. So this is one question just to test what you understood so far. Which data loss prevention product can monitor and block FTP transmission? So if anybody is trying to send FTP transmission, which DLP solution will able to monitor and block? Can anybody answer this question?
Network prevent for web.
Right. Then second question: which data loss prevention product can monitor and block encrypted files?
C.
Okay. Any other question? Any other answer? It's a B
D
and C.
again.
It's a B and C both, because network prevent, it has a prevention ability. Endpoint prevent, it has also prevention ability. So both are able to prevent encrypted files. It's just that you have to create a policy where you have to mention that any encrypted file which is going out through endpoint or network prevent for email or web, it has to be blocked. Okay. But monitor doesn't have that capability. And the last but not least is, a security is everyone's responsibility. It's not just IT security team, information security team, or compliance team, or anybody else. It is top to bottom. Everybody must be aware of, and they have to protect the sensitive information of the organization, so that organizational growth will ensure, and at the same time your growth will also be taken care. So thank you so much, and be safe online and offline, as we are still COVID-19 risk. So thanks everyone for joining this session. Appreciate your all questions, feedback, suggestions.
Yeah, I have a request, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Will you able to share the recorded version of this particular presentation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be greater. Thank you.
Yeah, I will share. Anybody has any question after completing the session? You have any doubt, question, you can ask quickly. We'll wrap up in next 5 minutes.
Normally, DLP has been recognized or talked about, or becomes a buzzword kind of thing only when there is a attack or something happens. Why is not been taken care otherwise, like while setting the infrastructure and stuff like that?
Yes. So
is it CTO is have not recognized that, or is it a IT policy not in place, or the system admin not recognized the importance of the data? Difficult to derive at something.
Okay. So it is like there is a concept defense in depth. Okay. Now defense in depth means top to bottom, where like you have in your house, you have a gate, right? First, before somebody come to your house, there is a your compound gate, then your door, then your inside room door, then you have a locker, and within locker there is something. So this is the way that we have in our home. Similar way in organization, there is a physical security. So at gate, there must be CCTV control. There should be access control like ID verification and so on. Then they will enter to your on premises. Then your firewall comes, the traffic, right? Then there is your application, your network, then your server, then your application, then your data, and in data sensitive information. So there is a different layers. So ultimately all these physical security, firewall, proxy, all security controls, all your application server, hardening, everything is happen only two purpose. One is to run the business. Second is to protect the data, protect the information, right? So DLP is something which is a core of everything. It just protect the sensitive information, core information of the organization. Now earlier people were not much aware of, they are not willing to invest much, right? And there is some cultural mindset also, like these are our employees, we trust them. If we will not trust, who will trust? So those things are there, but in past and recent there is lots of data breaches happen, and nowadays in a work from home scenario, there are lots of data breaches are already happening, and many organization might not aware of, but they would come once they are exposed or they are being misused, right? So nowadays DLP has a huge demand because the risk is more. People are working from home, people are working from anywhere. Now out of 100, maybe one malicious user or intentionally or unintentionally data can be breached. So now slowly organization, CTO, and everyone is, they are concerned about it, they are implementing the solution, they are taking care of. But earlier, before COVID-19, it was ideally implemented by financial organizations or the organization whose data is very, scientific, very intellectual properties or very sensitive. But in banking industry or telecom industry where customer data, they ideally very much concerned about their data and they were implementing. Nowadays it is like small or big, from top to bottom, everybody is concerned about their data, and they are either implementing DLP or they are having the tighten security which can ensure their data would be protected. So now it is more aware everyone, and it's just matter of their budget and the other aspects they are implementing. And it's now no more buzzword, but it is now a concern, and uh, the people are implementing these DLP solutions now. But still they are lacking the success or return of investment of DLP, because there is a lack of skill requirements, there is a lack of proper implementations, and because uh, ultimately you have DLP or any base solution, if you don't have a right skills, if you don't have a right talent, if you are not implemented solutions properly, you are not integrated, you are not harden your solution, you have not configured your access controls, you have not have your proper policies, data classification exercise, right? You won't be able to achieve what that you want. So it's increasing day by day, and I think everybody is now implementing this.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to ask anything? Can we wrap up?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Hi. Can you like mention some of the shortcomings of the DLP system, like in a positives, like if there is any? Because every good side has a bad side as well. So like if you know any of those.
uh, Frankly speaking, it's all about security, right? And security is like it's a personal security or any
Yes.
or data security,
Spring ले लेता हूँ, तो पढ़ेंगे.
right? It is always everybody wants to be secured. So positive side is all we know is our data would be secured. The negative side, I would say, there will be more restrictions, there will be more watch on the employees and insider users, and uh, there would be sometime relations also get impacted, because knowingly, unknowingly, intentionally, unintentionally, people may do certain things, and then there will be a investigation, they have to speak to the same person, right? Why you
Yeah,
did this, what kind of data, this and that. So it has those negative impacts. So it is very difficult to, the people to whom we work with, we have to we can't trust them, and in case of incident we have to investigate them. So these are few
okay.
human aspects also, but that is what it is there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so I think we can we can finish this session. So thank you again. Thank you so much for your interest and time, and be safe online and offline. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.